That's what I said.
That's wow. That's amazing. I like that.
Yep.
My best advice is brought to you by Mims Ukes. It's where I buy my ukuleles. So, we're here with the Zobes. My Zobes, the musketeer, with our young Alice. So, hi everyone, welcome to the show. I love advice. I love getting advice. I love hearing people's stories about the advice they've received. I love reading quotes and sayings, and it's one of the reasons I like Facebook so much. Give me a good meme and I'm a happy boy. So when I decided to do podcasting, I figured this would be a pretty good topic to talk about. So here we are. I'm your host, Mike Hind, and this is my best advice. So we're here with Zoe Bestel.
Hello.
And as I say, she's not the worst L. She is, in fact, the best L.
Oh, that's so cringy.
I know, it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst line I could come up with for you. So tell us about you and what you're up to and who you are.
Who am I? I am Zoe. I am an 18-year-old singer-songwriter and ukulele fanatic, obviously. I've been singing. I've been playing for about 5 years. I've been playing the ukulele for about 5 years, and I've been gigging and bringing out my own album and having a rather lovely time. Yes.
That's awesome. And what is your album? Tell us about your album.
My album is called Seleucus and the Moon. It's named after my first ukuleles, which my first ever uke was called Luke the Uke, but then I got a fancier one, so it got upgraded to Seleucus. And then I got my first, they were sopranos, and I got my first baritone and asked my Facebook fans to name it, and they came up with Luna the Lely, so that's Luna. So Seleucus and the Moon is named after those.
I didn't know that. That's kind of amazing.
It's cool.
That's awesome.
I've got 2 new ones now, though. They're 2 Carla ukuleles, and they're very lovely. They're Acacia. Acacia, is that right?
Acacia,
just checking. I can never pronounce my words right. And same thing, I asked my Facebook fans to name them, but then I liked the name so much that they had to have double names and then titles. So I've got a tenor, which is called Mr. Montgomery Plinkety, and I have my baritone, which is Baron Jarvis Fortescue.
Baron Jarvis Fortescue.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know, it's a cool one, isn't it?
I love it when people name... We're just getting a cat when we get back home. I'm in Carlisle right now. We are in Carlisle, and we were in Scotland yesterday, which was an amazing, amazing show. We did a show in...
Colvend.
In Colvend, which is
Dumfries
and Galloway, which was a wonderful, amazing, amazing crowd with the delectable Stuart Butterworth. Butterworth?
Yeah,
yes, Butterworth. He was just amazing, and the whole crowd was fantastic, and it was a really good show. I like Scotland very much. Yes, but when we get back, we're getting a lovely ginger kitty, and
is it little Tabby?
No, it's
just
ginger, like Buster
ginger.
here.
Oh.
And we've decided to name him Seamus Michael O'Leary.
That's the best name ever.
Because
it's the best name.
Because we had to name him something Irish, and that was about as Irish as we could get.
Yep,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Seamus Liam, Michael, Seamus O'Leary. Cool. So this show is about advice. So who... And I've asked you to come up with the best advice you ever received. And you did not respond in a positive way. You were like, I hate you, but I'm going to do it anyway. So who was the person that gave you this advice?
It was my parents.
Oh.
Yeah, the lovely Bestel
The
parents.
Bestel parents are
parents.
2 awesome, incredible people.
Aww.
I use the word awesome too much, but it really does apply to your 2 lovely people.
Oh, they're lovely. They're the best things. They gave me this advice when I first started out. When I came to them at the end of 4th year and said, I want to leave school. I don't want to do 6th form. I want to become a musician. I want to be a full-time, self-employed singer-songwriter. And they went, oh, okay, right, yes, you can do this. You can do this. And they said, right, well, the best advice we can give you is to get as
Don't
much...
don't tell the advice yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. No, we need to.
Oh, well, it was my parents.
Yeah, okay.
And that's when they told me. There you go.
And okay, so let's.
I was getting so excited then.
I know. I was
like, I'm gonna.
I was right with you, and I was like, oh shit, no, we can't do that. So we should explain. Fourth year is.
Oh, that's of high school. It's
like the second to last year.
No, it's the third to last year.
Third to last year. So that's like a junior in high school.
Oh, yeah, because it's all confusing, isn't it? Well, in Scotland, because it's different from England as well, you've got S1, S2, S3, S4, and then that's when you've done your GCSEs or higher, or now they've changed again. But that's...
For our American listeners, I apologise for her sounding like the teacher from Charlie Brown, because everyone in America just heard, wah, 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 wah. So GCSEs are the big exams that you do at the end of...
Yeah, they're the big ones, and you get your... Oh, I don't know whether you get your O-levels or your A-levels, but no, GCSEs, and then you do your O-levels. See, I don't know, because
I don't either.
Scottish is different.
I never got any of them.
So anyway, they're the first exams that you do, and then you can opt to have the next 2 years of schooling, so you can do your whatever levels after that, so then you can get your degrees or get into doing your degrees. See, it's so confusing, but anyway, there's the last...
So how old a person are you in fourth?
In fourth year, 16.
You're 16.
16, 17.
So that's probably around junior.
Yeah, okay. Well, can you leave junior year?
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, anyway...
I flunked out of school, so...
Well, basically, that's the first time that you can leave school. And that's when I decided, it was that year mostly, I was figuring out whether I wanted to leave to go to college, to go to do a music course, or whether I just wanted to go straight ahead and just go, because this is what I love doing, and it's a viable career. So it was like, yeah, I can do this. So it was just deciding then, and it was a big, quite a large year, because that's when everyone decided properly what they wanted to do, because then you're picking your hires.
So much pressure.
Yeah, so much pressure on kids these days. Yeah.
So what had led you to making this decision? Like had you had a modicum of success?
I'd started about a year and a half before making this decision. I'd started gigging. So I've been singing for years. That was before I could speak. I was singing, making little weird noises in the corner,
You still
which
are.
hasn't changed. And I'd always been musical. It was my primary school when we moved up to Scotland, because we moved up in 2006 when I was 8.
Good Lord.
And
I was 37.
When I was 8, and the school was amazing. I went to a primary school in Wigtown. Yes, it's a real place, Wigtown. They have a book festival that's on at the moment, and it's fab. And it was the head teacher there, which was Stuart Anderson. He was incredibly encouraging of youngsters to get loads of confidence. Youngsters. He didn't say that. He called them bairns.
Bairns?
Or bodies. That was a strange thing. He used to call them bodies. Oh, the bodies. I know, it's a bit weird now, looking back at it, but it was quite cute then. Anyway, we had like an end-of-school panto, and we were all involved in all of these things to do with getting your confidence up. We had a music teacher, and she said that I'd be really good at playing oboe, and I was like, okay, I'll play oboe then. So I went up to grade 3 in oboe, and then I really liked piano. I wanted to play piano, and then I really liked flute, so I tried to teach myself, and I'm still teaching myself. I'm not that good.
So will we be getting a flute solo in the next?
Well, I've actually written one for one of the songs, so you might.
Awesome.
I might.
I'm assuming there won't be an oboe.
No.
solo.
It's a double reed, and it's really, really tiny hole that you've got to blow through to get all the sound out. And
that's what she said.
I know, sorry. It's quite. You've got to have quite a diaphragm, and surprisingly, even though I'm still a singer, trying to play that now, it's a whole different shape that you've got to do with your mouth. So I can still do the fingerings of the playing. And
that's what she said.
Oh. I can still do that. It's very similar to flute, but the actual note that blowing through it, the actual sound that you've got to get from the reed is really hard.
So no oboe solos.
No oboe solos.
Oh, good.
No.
Well, that's okay.
That's okay.
What was Peter and the Wolf? That's like the only oboe solo that anyone knows of, isn't it?
Oh right.
It was the Goose or something.
No, I don't know. That was a weird noise. There you go, still making weird noises in the corner.
There you go. Okay, so let's talk about the advice.
Okay.
What was the advice?
The advice was to get as much experience as possible. Honestly, it was.
This is why I love your parents.
Yeah.
This is why I love your parents.
They said, do the Beatles thing. Do you know the Beatles thing? It was the one, like the first year when they started. This is loosely, I'm going to say this is loosely correct. It's round about the factual. But the first year that they were kind of performing as a band, they played absolutely every gig they could possibly do, no matter if it was awful, if it was amazing, just get as much experience. So you get that live experience so that you know what to do when a string breaks, you know what to do when the sound, like you get a power outage, you know when there's a really weird feedback noise. You kind of get as much experience, you get experience with bad sound engineers, with no sound engineers, with good sound engineers, with a bad audience, a good audience, a crowd of two. And I've done most of those so far, so I'm ticking my way through these. So it's... honestly, it was the best advice that I could ever have. And I agreed with it. I completely, yeah, definitely. I need to do as many experiences as possible. So I did get half of those things that I mentioned, and then you know how to deal with them. The only one I haven't had yet is a string breaking.
I once had a bass player that broke the big string, the top string on it. And I don't know.
How? Those things are like indestructible.
That's what we said when he did it. We were just like, how did you do that? And he said, I don't know. He's a bass player, so, he doesn't, you just sort of lead him into the corner and let him drool over there while he bangs on it. Oh, no, that's a drummer. No, same thing. So, yes, that's phenomenal advice. Get as much advice as you, get as much experience as you can.
Yeah, of everything, yeah.
And that is very much life advice.
It is. It completely is. It totally helped with definitely making that decision. It was like, okay, well, if you want to be a musician, then get as much experience as doing this as possible. One of my big things, and I write it in quite a lot of my songs, is about regret. And it's about... And I'm a bit of a strange person. I don't like to think 5 years in the future. I don't think, oh, this is what I'm going to be... Well, I do think 5 years, but about 10 years or 20 years, I'm not thinking I want to be doing this. I don't want to plan my life. But I want to be able to know that in future, in 20 years' time, I can look back now and go, I have no regrets for doing the things I want to do. And I'd rather have regrets of doing something than not. That's exactly... So all of this experience thing, it's like, go for it. It's like, somebody says, do you want to do bungee jumping? Go, yeah, okay.
I referenced this 2 shows ago with my friend Tina. Mark Twain said, in 20 years you're going to regret things you didn't do more than the things you did do. That's exactly
it. It's I keep bumping into teachers every now and then in like Aldi when we're getting shopping. Sorry, a little bit of advertising there. There's other supermarkets available on this podcast.
Most of the people that listen are American, and they're like, Aldi, is that like a nice Italian restaurant?
I keep bumping into teachers, and they say to me, do you regret leaving? And I go, no, I really don't. And I think, to be honest, maybe part of them wants me to say, yeah, I do, I should have done that. But no, I always say no. It's the best decision I've ever made was to cut my hair and leave school.
I still want to see pictures of you with long hair.
Oh gosh, actually I've got a massive forehead. My head looks huge when I've got all this long hair. Bizarre.
Massive forehead. It's beautiful. Yeah, because I dropped out of school at 16, and then I went to boarding school and flunked out until I was 18. And I just sort of floated around for a little while, and I wanted to go back to school. And one of the amazing pieces of advice that I got from the Dean of Students at, I don't know if he was the Dean of Students or Dean of Admission. He was one of the deans at the school, at the, School of Visual Arts in New York, was, don't worry about that piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to go to a school like SVA, take every course that pops into your head, anything that catches your interest, anything that makes you go, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that. He says, this is your opportunity to do that. And I was 26 at the time, so I was old. compared to
Well, no, you're not old.
you. But and I've lived by that very much so. And every time someone goes off to school, that's what I tell them. I said, don't worry about your degree. Just take as many classes as you can.
It's just the experience. It's the learning that you're going to get there. Yeah.
And I've been really lucky because my life has worked out that way. In that the experiences that I've had have led me to do what I'm doing. I've been really, really lucky because I didn't set out to do this. I was always interested in sort of being a performer, but I never really thought it would happen. But I did stand-up comedy, and I worked in bands.
So there you go.
So all the experiences led to this, and I wish someone had told me, get as much experience as you can, because I would have focused a little more.
Yeah.
But
they're fab, my parents.
They are fab.
They'll do.
Fantastic. So, the advice was, get as much experience as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And you have applied this. You have done.
I have.
You've been very efficient in this podcast because I'm looking at my notes here, and it's, well, she answered that. She talked about that. Well, crap.
I'm trying to think of. I had a conversation whenever I was at. I did a 3-day tour with some other young people last year. It was it's a Scottish thing. It's if you're between 14 and 25 and you're in a band, they kind of put you together and you each headline your own hometown. So you do a 3-day tour, and we did them through Edinburgh and Fort William. But one of the things we were talking about, you did like a little get to know each other before you go into, otherwise you just throw in the van with a few people. It's a bit was they were asking about our worst experiences that we've ever had at gigs and stuff. Which again is all the experience you can get, and you learn from it. I remember having some really bizarre gigs. I had one gig, there was only 4 people in the audience. It was a very small room, and there wasn't meant to be any more than like 15, but there was only 4 people, and I had an hour and a half. And,
no break?
No break.
Oh,
they loved it though.
Yeah.
I really liked it, which is good. I'm so glad.
You can do 4 people. You can do anything.
I know. That's pretty much it, because they're right there and they're staring at you. And this was when I was 14, and
I can't imagine being 14 and having. Well, one of the things, and I said this to your mum last night, and to Feckless and Fuddle the night before. You have a very quiet set. Your music is quite quiet. And there is a bravery that I admire about you, that I not only respect, but I do admire. I wish I was that brave. I wish I was brave enough to be quiet. I'm trying to, in some of my songs, I try to quiet it down. But you're just so
thank you.
I was sitting there last night at the gig, which was an amazing gig. You gotta admit, that was phenomenal. And I was just sitting there going, I couldn't. I'd be too afraid to do what you, because you did what, 45?
Yeah, I did about
45 minutes of quiet songs, and you had them wrapped.
I think the thing that I've learned from experience is playing some louder gigs where people don't listen is that don't shout, don't compete with them. They'll sort themselves out. If there's people in that audience that want to listen to you, sing the way you want to. It's mostly about control. I like being quieter because I'm in more of a control thing. If I try and go too loud, I'm pushing it. There's levels of that. I need to learn to do that more. That's something I need to learn.
So what was it? What was your worst one? Your worst?
My worst gig.
Because most of my gigs in the 90s were amazing, and yet potentially the worst gigs ever, with a bunch of drunk people at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, fighting.
Funnily enough, most of the gigs I've done, the experience beforehand, so that either setting up or the green room experience or the sound engineers or even the venue or something like falling apart or not having...
That's how fancy Zoe is. She gets a green room all the time.
or the equipment just not being there. Every time the actual gig has been okay. The actual performance has come out.
That's where I'm at.
It's
I've never had an actual bad gig.
I know there's been some gigs I've gotten upset afterwards because I've gone, no, I could have done better than that, and there was something that happened beforehand that really threw me, but it wasn't enough that I just stopped.
Yeah.
There's never been anything. I'd never do that because you owe it to the audience. You've got a respect for the audience. You can't. You've got to do it for them. There's that other mindset about no matter what happens beforehand at any of the gigs, the second you get on that stage, you are Zoe Bestel, the performer. You are Mark Kind,
you have to do
the
your
performer.
job.
And then it's like it's a completely different mindset. And I've been talking to other people about this, about how they get really emotional about things beforehand, and then it affects their stage presence and how they act on stage. So if they're annoyed about something, they'll be annoyed on stage.
Yeah.
And even then, they've said, I've regretted doing that because that's not fair on my audience, because they have no idea and they just think that I've come on and been an absolute nightmare.
Absolutely, you have a responsibility.
It's difficult because I'm quite an emotional person. When I get myself upset about something, I am like, and it's so hard to try and just put that to the side and go, right, I'm performing now. I've got to do my job. So. But again, experience. You've got to get that. You've got to have those gigs that you are a little bit more upset about something. And I try to convert it the same way as when people ask me, "Are you nervous?" I go, "Well, yeah, but I'm more excited. I'm going to convert those nerves into excitement about doing it." And if you're not nervous, for a gig, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
Even if there's a little bit, there has to be just a little bit. None at all. Okay, but it's the nervousness means you care. You've got to be on your feet. You've got to be on the ball. You need to care.
Yeah, because that fear.
You can't do it, Van Morrison.
Exactly.
You can't come on stage and turn your back to them. That's
exactly.
Not
I
fair.
talk about it in my workshops about the stage fright and the fact that fear, which is ostensibly a fear of rejection, a fear of them going, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
And walking out or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Right.
That fear is very legitimate. And so, as what you were saying, there is almost a need, a necessity to address that fear and to feel those nerves a little bit. I know I don't get anywhere near as nervous as I used to.
Yeah.
But I still have that sort of moment right before I go on going, Christ, I hope this goes well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's the caring thing. There's different levels. The thing you mentioned just then, there's a saying that I saw the other day, which was like, you could be the most juiciest, loveliest orange on the planet. No, peach. It was peach. Mm-hmm. You could be the most amazing peach that has ever been, but there's going to be someone out there that doesn't like peaches.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the thing. The fear of rejection thing is that there is going to be someone that doesn't like your music. That's good. That means that you're not middle of the road. You're not going for everybody to like you. You can never have somebody. You can't always have somebody like you. There's going to be people that don't. I'll say this quickly. There was somebody at a gig I had. It was very a folk gig. It's very traditional. And this guy came up to me afterwards and went, "I don't like your music. I don't like what you do, but you do it well." And it's like, oh, okay. He said, "I wouldn't buy the CD, but you're good."
That is
I went, well, good.
Almost the very definition of a left-handed compliment.
Yeah.
Keep that up, you're going to get it right. That's it.
But that is the fear of rejection thing. There is going to be somebody out there that doesn't like what you do, but you've got to just have the confidence to do it and know that you're going to do it well. Yeah, get the experience.
Absolutely, get the experience. I did a gig once where people that have seen my act, a lot of it is pretty ad-libbed. And this one night, audience was great, and I was rolling, and people kept showing up in ugly shirts and loud dresses, and I was just going perfectly. And the requests that were coming were all songs that I either could nail and do really well, or I could riff off of and make a joke out of, and it was just beautiful. And it was all ad lib. There was no bits that I had written. It was just amazing. And one of the waitresses came up to me afterwards, and she goes, that was an insane night. That was so much fun. She goes, but you're never going to believe this. A couple at the back leaned over to me as I was serving them and said, "You must get sick of his shtick every night." She said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, this is so rehearsed."
Man, there you go.
My initial reaction was that absolute terror, that, oh my God, they hate me, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to curl up into a fetal ball.
So you've got to find them, find their address, and go to their house and say,
I know,
I'm so sorry.
I wanted to like go and kill them. And then I went, wait a minute. I was so good at what I was doing that they thought it was rehearsed. Like, the thing was smooth, it was I was like, yes, yes, I'm just going to turn that horrible moment in my life into something good.
That's exactly it. And without experience.
Exactly. Without experience, you wouldn't be able to do that. Well, that's Zoe Bestel, who is the Bestel.
Oh, thank you.
Although her parents are pretty amazing as well. I love the Peter and the Heather. They're awesome people. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Zoe, for being on this show. It was awesome. Every show I do, it sort of goes in a direction I wasn't expecting, and
Can I ask what direction you thought this was going to go in?
I had no idea.
You had no idea. Sounds so unpredictable.
No, I always think, I've got my sort of layout kind of thing written down. And sort of advice to myself of how to talk about stuff, and I've got later continue talking about the advice. How is it applied? How does it change things? And when you introed it, you were like, okay, this is the advice, and this is how I applied it, and this is how it changed things, and this is what I did.
There we go. Done.
Like, okay, so we're finished at 14 minutes. So we just babbled for a little while. Cool. So let's see. We are on tour right now. We've got one more night in Carlisle, but by the time this comes out, it will be long over, sadly.
I will have vlogged, though. So you can check out my vlog on my website, which is zoebestel.co.uk. Bestel, Bestel.
Yes.
Ta-da.
And there's a 2 thing in her name that isn't an umlaut.
It's it's a dia. Oh, I've forgotten.
She doesn't know.
I don't know, really. It's just not an umlaut.
And your album is
Sir Lucas and the Moon.
Sir Lucas and the Moon. You can get that on iTunes.
On iTunes and on my website, and I'll sign it for you. And if you want a physical copy, that is, and it's on all the usual places. I think it's on what's the one? They stream it. Spotify. All of those things you can just search for.
All of those things, and they're beautiful. And my favorite song is
Reading Over Words. Yeah.
So stay tuned to hear my awful cover of it. I am going to be playing at I can't even do a plug because it's going to be over by the time.
Well, you're playing in the Masonic
Gusuf is going to be. Yes, I'm playing at the Masonic Hall. We are playing at the Masonic Hall.
We are, and then we're at Gusuf.
You
are at Gusuf.
I'm at Gusuf, and then we're going to have even more parties.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
So thank you so much for being on this. My best advice is brought to you by Mims Ukes. It is where I buy my ukuleles. She is a remarkable, remarkable human being. You've met her.
She's wonderful. I love Mims.
You
can't not love Mims.
I know. She's amazing.
Mims fab.
And if you're even remotely interested in ukuleles, if you've bought your first $20 or £10 ukulele,
ooh.
I don't know what that was, but I kind of want it to be my new theme song.
Yes, that's the outro.
So if you're even remotely interested in ukuleles, do check out mimsukes.com. She will get you the best uke for the best price with a setup that will make your fingers feel like they're doing something to butter. That metaphor just sort of got away from me, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Heaven is a good one. They just feel like heaven.
Heaven, they feel like heaven.
Yeah, you just go with that.
Thank you so much. This has been my best advice. I'm Mike Hyde. Thank you so much for listening.